Hi, I'm Jessica Lahr, and here's a look at what's trending this week on FingerLakes1.com. With spring in full bloom in the Finger Lakes, we've had plenty of great local photos sent in over the past week, like this shot from Rachel Burkholder showing these flowers in Ovid that seem to be reaching for the rainbow on Sunday evening. This New York State Canal System vessel was spotted by Ted Novak cruising the Cayuga-Seneca Canal in Seneca Falls last Tuesday. Abby Buddington also captured the Mother's Day rainbow off this dock on Seneca Lake in Dresden. Nancy Wright caught a spectacular sky over a farm along Route 14A north of Penn Yan on Thursday evening. Shelley Lannon photographed this John Deere tractor on Waddell Road in Clifton Springs on Thursday evening. Jack Wagner was on the sideline with his camera as Minders junior midfielder Brad Sandroni attacked the goal during the Blue Devils' 20-2 win over Marcus Whitman on senior night in Seneca Falls. Saturday's sunrise over Van Cleef Lake in Seneca Falls was captured by Susie Cornett. And last Tuesday morning's fog created a dreamy, misty morning look in the Finger Lakes. Rachel Burkholder snapped this barn that was almost hidden in the fog near Ovid. And we received a ton of great photos of our feathered friends returning from their winter in the south. Lori Dirks loves her barn swallows, and this male was back in her Ontario backyard making swooning calls as he begins this year's courtship. The trees are filling in and the birds were singing on Saturday morning in Clifton Springs as Shelley Lannon spotted this cardinal. Sunday morning, this cedar waxwing spent some time in the apple tree in Mike Sargent's Farmington backyard. And then on Monday morning, this Baltimore oriole was enjoying the same apple blossoms. Great photos, everyone. We can't wait to see what you'll find this week. If you'd like to send us your local photos, scroll to the bottom of our photos page at FingerLakes1.com to learn how. On Saturday night, about 1,000 runners participated in the inaugural Women's Right to Run 19K and 5K races in Seneca Falls. It was a gorgeous morning at 9 a.m. as Catherine Switzer, the first woman to enter and complete the Boston Marathon, saw off the runners of the 19K race near the Seneca Falls Airport. The inaugural Right to Run 19K race was won by 30-year-old Peter Gauthier of New Jersey with a time of 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 9 seconds. After he crossed the finish line, Peter stopped by the FL1 Sports broadcast booth to talk to Jim Sinacropi and Jen Stanton about his win.
Let me say, am I saying it right, Gauthier?
Gauthier.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're with Eric Gauthier, 1 hour, 19 minutes, the inaugural men's division champ here at the Women's Right to Run 19K. And initial impressions of the event.
It was a great race. There were a lot of people out there, the whole place, especially this final 3-4 miles or something, and down by the lake was beautiful. Perfect weather today, so it was fun.
Now, are you from around here?
From Michigan originally. I live in New Jersey now, but my in-laws, her grandpa lives here. He's been here his whole life.
So is that what brought you up for the race? Just having that local tie?
Just family reunion. My sister-in-law is also, we're having a little baby shower for her, so big weekend.
Yeah, and then you get
even bigger with you winning.
Yeah.
Now, was this something that you came in and said, I think I can win this, or is just enter and see what happens?
Not at all. I mean, it's an inaugural race. You don't know who's going to show up. It's kind of a weird distance, so.
Was it hard to pace yourself for that kind of distance? We were talking about that earlier. Or do you just go all out and hope for the best?
I had paces at the beginning for the first 4 miles or so. I was running those paces and was with the leaders, and then just kind of went for it and was competing for the last the end, and then last 5 miles just trying not to let anyone catch me. So
yeah, and I can actually pull up on the screen here. I got some footage of you along the lake here leading the race.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, you guys were close for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you just took
along
the lead by
I was trying to go along the lake here. I really tried to pick it up and pull away from it. I figured you couldn't see me there for a while, so I was trying to pull away. It's fun. It's cool.
Yeah, no, but second place nowhere to be found.
Yeah, you can't even see him.
I could see him as soon as I came down to the lake. I could still see him behind me. He was, within a quarter mile or something.
You're just trying not to look back and just keep going.
And it looked like you made the pass around the 4 or 5 mile mark. Is that right?
I think I caught the leader around that point.
Yeah.
And I ran a little while.
Finishing second overall was the women's champion Heather May of Geneva, who at age 46 came in with a time of 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 31 seconds. Robert Goggs of Ithaca was third, FL1 Sports' own Kevin Korzeniewski of Seneca Falls was fourth, and Bo Shoemaker of Rochester was fifth. You can check out all the results for each age group at www.righttorun19k.org. Congratulations to race director Katie McIntyre, presenting sponsor Generations Bank, and all the organizers and volunteers on a great inaugural race day. The day prior to the race, Catherine Switzer spoke to students at Minders Academy about women in sports, and here she describes the historic Boston Marathon in 1967, in which she became the first woman to enter and complete the race.
Well, we went to Boston real fast. A series of coincidences happened that you couldn't repeat. It was snowing and sleeting. I had on a real cute shorts and top. I really wanted to show off, right? And I had to wear my baggy gray sweats. We wore everything we owned in that race because it was so cold. It was 34 degrees, snow, sleet, headwinds. Today they would cancel the race. It was so utterly miserable. The men all around me knew that I was a woman because they were up close, but the officials from a distance couldn't tell. They pushed us all in the starting area together. People were taking my picture. We were shaking hands, hugging. They were all saying, go for it. I have to say that the men in this sport have always been there for the women. It's a genderless sport, which is very, very interesting. Once we start running together, we're not males, females, we're runners. It's been an amazing ride in this sport, totally unlike other sports, which unfortunately, if, for instance, the NBA had been really, really much more helpful with women's basketball, I think women's basketball would become much more of a professional sport than it is today, but that's a whole other issue. We can discuss it another time. But at any rate, then you saw what happened. We were happy running 2 miles into the race, waving at the press truck when it came by, saying hi to our moms on the nightly news, when all of a sudden the official, Jock Semple, jumped off this truck, completely had lost his temper. It was like Katie McIntyre had lost her temper because she had been working for weeks and weeks, and somebody was trying to screw up her race and make a joke out of it, all right? This is what he thought. The official thought I was there as a joke, to make a mockery of him, to sort of thumb my nose at him, and I was wearing my bib number 261. Arnie was screaming at him, leave her alone, she's okay, I've trained her. He smacked Arnie back and kept grabbing me. I got away once, but he pulled me by the shirt and pulled me back and was cursing at me and screaming. And I was, I was terrified. I gotta tell you, we all were laughing at the pictures, okay? We were laughing at the pictures, but it was a terrible thing. I was a 20-year-old girl, I just turned 20, and it was my first big race. This man was not only terrifying me, but he was humiliating me, embarrassing me, making me feel like I was the most unwanted person in the world, and I was, as far as he was concerned. And for that split second, I really wanted to step off the course and go home to my mother. I really did. And that's when I said, no, I've trained too hard for this. And besides, I was just trying to get away from him. And all of a sudden, Tom came and smacked him really hard. And Jock went flying through the air, and Arnie said, run like hell, and down the street, right? And I was wiping away the tears. I couldn't run fast enough. We were like kids out of a haunted house. I'm not kidding you. Anyway, making the decision to finish the race was the most important decision I think I've ever made in my life. And how do you make a decision under that kind of pressure when you're only 20 years old? And I think it's because I had a victory under my belt every day that nobody could take away from me. I ran every day, and it made me feel empowered and fearless. And that was the turning point. People say to me, oh, Catherine, they come down, touch my head, that you were destined for this moment. Can I tell you something about destiny? Destiny is about finishing the job. Destiny is about finishing the course, staying there, doing it. Destiny is about finishing the job. And that's when I turned to Arnie and I said, I'm finishing this race with my hands and my knees if I have to. Because I knew we were going to set women's sports back if I didn't do it. And I knew I had to. Now, the scary thing about a marathon or any long race is like mountain climbing. You don't know how it's going to go necessarily. You can be in the shape of your life. Something may happen that will keep you from finishing. You get injured, you get diarrhea, a dog runs out, it's just not your day, whatever it is. None of those things could happen to me. I had to finish no matter what. So anyway, did finish. During the race, I often joke, I say, I had 24 miles to go at that point, and you can't run and stay mad, which is true. The anger dissipated. By the time I climbed over Heartbreak Hill, I was no longer mad at Jock Semple. I murdered him. I murdered him every way a person could be murdered for 22 miles, okay? And by the time I got over Heartbreak Hill, I was no longer angry with him. There's no ways left to murder him. So I suddenly realized it wasn't even his fault. He was a product of his time. He was a guy who just didn't get it. He was an overworked race director. He was all those other things. So I put that over here and said, well, we'll change his mind later. And I said, where are the women? Where are the women? Those women just don't get it. And then I said, you are the stupidest girl in the whole world. You've had encouragement since you were 12 years old, support from a team, a buddy named Arnie, and you're here. You're here. And they're not here. Why? They're not here because they never had those opportunities and therefore have never had the chance to try anything, and they're afraid. They're afraid. That's why they're not here. If you remember nothing else from what I tell you today, please remember this. As you grow up, and even in yourself, okay? In yourself, and then as you grow up and work with other people. And that is this, is that talent is everywhere. Talent and capability is everywhere, everywhere. It only needs an opportunity. If you give somebody an opportunity, they always rise to the occasion. How about giving yourself an opportunity? You're the worst judges of your own capability, trust me on this. You really only can try and understand your capability by taking the next step up, pushing yourself to the next limit, gathering that information and saying, I can try that, I can do that, and taking a leap and doing it. Talent is everywhere, only needs an opportunity. When you can become a grown-up person, when you become Menzo Case, okay, and you're employing people, the more opportunities you give them, the better they're going to rise to the occasion, and the more talent you will see is there. Always do that. Always give somebody that opportunity. Every time you see a little kid, a boy or a girl, you're going to have kids in your life, you have brothers and sisters, and you're going to have kids of your own, or a kid in the street, I don't care. Always give them a little attaboy or attagirl. Say, you can do that, give them a shot, let them take the chance. You can change their lives. You never know where these like pearls of wisdom you throw down you can pick up, and you can pick it up yourself too, okay? Okay, we finished the Boston Marathon. I felt better than I did at any point in the race. And that's because I had a dream of what needed to be done. My dad always said to me, if you start something, you'd better finish it, and you've got to take responsibility for your action. Now I had done this in Boston, this incident happened. My responsibility now was to create opportunities for women in running and to change those attitudes of people like Jock Semple. So when I finished the race, another thing, I wanted to become a better athlete. We finished in 4 hours and 20 minutes. It's a perfectly respectable time, but it was considered then a jogging time. And the reason it was considered a jogging time is so few people ran, that if you ran 4 hours and 20 minutes, you were pretty much in the back, but I beat a couple hundred guys, so I mean, I was not last. But I knew people would tease me about it, so I decided to try to become a better athlete. The other thing about becoming a better athlete or doing something better physically, or becoming a better artist or a better singer or a better musician or a better banker is that you need to push yourself and to try, and it's also fascinating what you can do, okay? The human body and the human mind is really quite limitlessness. So just to do this in 30 seconds, I became a lot better athlete because I worked really hard. And I'm not talented. Hard work pays off. Training pays off. So I improved from 420 to 251 and was one of the best athletes in the world. And when I can do that on no talent, imagine how much talent existed with people who were really talented, who just never had the opportunity or never thought of what they could accomplish. Therefore, for instance, let's take a woman, for example, who was a good runner, and she was running, let's say, the mile race, because that was the longest race available in the Olympics, the 1,500 meters, although at this point it was only 800 meters. How could she ever envision a marathon if it wasn't in an Olympic Games, for instance? So she never thought she had that ability. It was the same situation with Title IX. You know, women were not getting into graduate school. They were not admitted to medical schools. They often were very discriminated against in college admissions. Very few, if any, like Syracuse, women's sports. Title IX was passed in 1972 that mandated equality of opportunity in education, which translated also into sports. Changed the landscape, right? Changed the landscape. The same thing is then in the Olympics, we needed to get the women's marathon in the Olympic Games. When I began then talking about that, people said, you are smoking poppy. You know, women can't run distance. The longest distance event in the Olympic Games is 1,500 meters, and you're talking about getting a marathon in the Olympic Games? I said, I know they can do it. They just never had the opportunity. So how are you going to create the opportunity? Well, you go and you get a really good sponsor, like Generations Bank. In my case, I went out and I got Avon Cosmetics, then the world's largest cosmetics company. I wrote one hell of a business proposal for them. Journalism school paid off. I did great marketing proposals and plans. Took it to Avon. They loved my proposal, and my proposal was to create a series of women's events all around the world in all of the event distances, which were in the Olympics for men but not for women, which was 5,000 meters to the full marathon, and we put them on all over the world. And to cut a long story short, as you heard in my introduction, eventually we had 400 races in 27 countries for 1 million women. And so I was winking at Katie over this because she's the race director for tomorrow's event. And she winked at me and I said, try 400 races in 27 countries. It was an amazing experience. The bottom line was that women by their thousands came out. By their thousands. Because for the first time, somebody gave them a welcoming, unintimidating opportunity. Opportunity is everything. When you create those opportunities in your work, the same thing will happen. It's like that movie, Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. And they came. So we closed downtown Tokyo streets, downtown London streets, downtown Paris streets for the first time in history for a sports event, not just for women, but women as... Can you imagine how people felt to be able to run around the Emperor's Palace in Tokyo or through London streets for the first time ever? And it was women? It was incredible. We were able to get on national TV and on all national media all around the world. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But the best part was...
On Monday afternoon, shortly after 2 o'clock, the Waterloo Fire Department responded to 39 Washington Street for the report of a structure fire. The building consisted of a tax business in the front and an apartment in the rear. The building was a total loss. The tenants of the apartment were uninjured but did not have renters insurance to cover the loss. The Waterloo Fire Department was assisted at the scene by Seneca Falls, Fayette, Border City, and Geneva fire departments. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Downtown Penn Yan will be the host site for the first Flights of Fancy Finger Lakes Wine Classic to be held this Saturday from 2 till 8 o'clock. This tasting event is co-sponsored by the Penn Yan Rotary Club and the Yates County Chamber of Commerce and will pair the finest Finger Lakes varietal wines and the most innovative chef's regional cuisine, all under one festival tent. Attendees can purchase advance sale tickets for $25 plus tax or purchase tickets at the gate for $30 plus tax. The admission fee grants you entrance to the festive atmosphere, a souvenir wine glass, and 16 tasting tickets to sample the large variety of wines. Food tickets will be sold separately with 6 food vendors available. After our first real taste of summer-like weather this week, temperatures will drop into the weekend with rain likely on Friday and a chance of showers on Saturday. Friday will remain mild with a high in the upper 60s, but daytime highs on Saturday and Sunday will remain in the upper 50s. For the full forecast and live radar, check out our local weather center at our homepage or on the weather tab on our app. On Monday morning, Mo Cunningham of Geneva was inside the FingerLakes1.com studios to talk about a unique way to grow produce year-round as a guest on Weber This Week with Harold Weber.
What are you looking at here?
So on the left-hand side, you can see the lights around it.
Okay.
So back when we were going to be on the show in March, I wanted to share with you that you can grow inside during the winter because obviously you can't with the snow here. And then, so look at all the different varieties you can grow. And you can grow flowers, edible flowers. There's a lot of Swiss chard and tomatoes. The tomatoes go crazy. Like, I just planted new crops. So I'll have tomatoes and cucumbers, and that's a tower on the right-hand side is the one that you can grow outside. So there's my little watermelon. My nephew and I grew out in California.
Wow.
And when we were growing that, he drew a heart on it so he could see how big the heart got. So he could see how big the watermelon was growing. And it grows fast. The crops grow probably 3 times faster in the tower than they do
Really?
in the ground.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And this is a food bank in Ontario. We just got towers in Canada recently. And one of my friends put these towers up, and she feeds food banks over in Canada. So they have it right in the city hall.
Wow.
And the people come and they, take crops and they bring it to the food banks, and it's really cool. This is a school, a friend of mine, Stephen Ritz, he's a teacher in the Bronx, and he has a program called the Green Bronx Machine. And he's teaching these kids how to grow their own foods, and he just recently built he took an old building that was torn down in the Bronx, or, not used, and he built a learning center in there. And so now kids go in there and they're learning how to, plant and grow foods, and he incorporates it into their programs in the curriculum. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's certainly a topic that is nutrition. It's good for your body. It's good for your health, and it's something that obviously people should really give consideration to as far as living a healthy life.
Yeah. Recently, there's a couple of people in Geneva that just got towers.
Okay.
And one of them is Ann Brown at the Water Street Cafe.
Okay, sure. I know.
So now-
yeah, I do know that.
Have you ever? Yeah.
Been there many times.
Okay, well, if you look now on her menu, she'll have a special, and she made quiche the other day, and she put fresh parsley and basil and kale from her tower. And she's incorporating it now into her foods. So that's her little special thing that she does.
Well, what's in the tower? Is it dirt? Is it hydroponics, like water?
It's an aeroponic, aeroponic hydroponic growing system. So the growing medium is called rock wool, and it's a spun lava rock. It looks kind of like foam.
Okay.
And you just put the seed in there until it grows up into a little baby seedling, and then you just plop them right into the tower. It's that simple, and you just let it grow, and you
How do you
take
water
your
from the top of the tower? Or?
There's a 20-gallon reservoir at the base, and you add a liquid mineral nutrients into the bottom. It has a pump in there, and the pump is on a timer, and it goes up to the top of the tower, and then it trickles over, and the pods are inside the tower, so the roots are getting the water and oxygen as it's on the timer, goes on and off. So you really don't have to do anything. You plug in, and you check the pH. That's there's no weeding.
Right.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to grow.
And so for per square foot, like normally if you look at a farmer's field, they can grow so much per square foot, but even in an indoor environment, per square foot, you can grow so much because of how you're going
Vertical,
up. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And you can actually grow you could add an extension to it. So it comes with 20 spots, but you could add, 2 more sections, so you can grow 28. And well, I just lost my train of thought. I was just going to tell you something else about it. But the tower it's just a simple, easy way to grow your fruits and vegetables without the extra work that you have to do outside.
and year round.
Right.
You can check out the entire episode and all our podcasts and live streams at our network homepage at fingerlakes1.tv or on the Finger Lakes 1 TV tab on our Android or iPhone app. I'm happy to announce that on Monday, fingerlakes1.com surpassed the 1 million view mark on our YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone who has clicked play and enjoyed our video content and live streams over the past several years. We promise there is more to come. Thanks for spending the last half hour with me here on FLX Weekly. Whatever your plans, have a great weekend, and I'll be back with you again next week.